Hello everyone, welcome to another roster review. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and notification bell in the corner over there so you know each time we release one of these videos. So, let's get straight into it. First of all, this is the Summer Slaughter winning army list, basically. So the Summer Slaughter was a tournament that happened this past weekend and I was in attendance. It was an 80-man major, the biggest tournament in the UK so far after lockdown, and I took the SPEEDWAAGH, and I managed to win all 5 of my games and have the most VPs while doing so. So I managed to come first. I won with this list. It was my first run out with it. Never had a game with it before, and it is an insanely oppressive list. So let's have a look at the list first. In the list, we have got 2 Outrider Detachments. So it does use quite a few CPs at the very start, but there's not very many stratagems that this list actually needs to function properly, so you don't mind using them. So it's 2 Outrider Detachments. In the first one, I've got a Deathkiller Wartrike, and he is the Warlord. He has got Brutal but Cunning as his Warlord trait, which gives him, like competitive edge, basically. Every attack that doesn't make it through to the inflict damage step, you get another attack for, which is just very nice because it helps against the things in the meta currently. Like it'll pick up a whole unit of Incubi, like a unit of 5 Incubi, because every single one that wounds, and he wounds on 2s re-rolling, he wounds on 2s rerolling, basically. It'll make them take 4 or 5 saves, and then they've got 5-ups against that. Anything that doesn't go through or they save, then you get that many more attacks. So it'll pick up the whole squad bet, or it'll leave like 1 Incubi alive, at which point you're not really scared of them at all. And, Vanguard Veterans, you'll run into a unit of 5 Vanguard Veterans, kill 2 or 3, and then make another 2 or 3 attacks, and like kill 4 of them, basically, and leave 1. And again, he's not scared of 1. So that's perfect. Then in that detachment with him, I've got 3 units of 3 Megatrack scrapjets, and I'm going to run you through what they do in the how it all works section. But man, I just want to say right now, they were my MVP units. Yeah, they were 100% my MVP units. Megatrack scrapjets are just insane. Then in that detachment, I also had 1 unit of 5 commandos, because they are dead sneaky. They can forward deploy, and they are purely there in the army to, 1, play the primary mission for me without, wasting other units to sit on objectives that I need to do damage with. B, play the secondary missions for me because I do struggle to take a 3rd one, and that's why I needed to put units in that help me do retrieve Octarius data, which they do perfectly. And 3, they stop deep striking threats like drop pods that can hit me turn 1 by forward deploying and screening off a portion of the board so I can keep a few of my buggies safe. I also had 2 units of 5 Storm Boys. Again, they're purely in the list for retrieve Octarius data, and so that I can put them on objectives and not have to send buggies onto those objectives to hold them. And yeah, I think they're incredible. Just the one unit of 5 Commandos and 2 units of 5 Storm Boys actually did very well for me. And but what I was finding, obviously, they came down, did the action for the turn, and then just died instantly. But they did rod for me. I basically got 8 points or 12 points on rod in every single game. So that's fantastic. And that is it for that Outrider detachment. And then I've got another Outrider detachment, also very small. In there, I've got a big mech with a custom force field. So he's giving 6-up invulnerable saves to units within 6 inches. And also on that key turn, he's going to do something very special, which I'll talk about in the how it works section. So I've got him. And also, I've got 3 units of 3 Rucker Truck Squig Buggies. So not only do I have 9 Megatrack Scrapjets in this list, I also have 9 Rucker Truck Squig Buggies, which are just incredible now. So that is the list. Very, very small list. Look, when you look at it, probably next to me right now, when you can see how short the list is, like when you write it out, it's insane compared to the footprint that 18, buggies and a Deathkiller Wartrike actually has on the board. It looks like a very small list on paper, but it's an insanely massive list when you put it down on the board. So that's the list. Let's have a look at how it all works. Right then, how it works, guys. Let's have a look at how it all works. First of all, we've got that Death Killer Wartrike. He's mainly in there for the SPEEDWAAGH ability. That's why he's the Warlord. If I didn't need the SPEEDWAAGH, if I didn't need him to be the Warlord to have the SPEEDWAAGh, then the Big Mech would definitely be the Warlord. Just, you know, it makes killing my Warlord a little bit harder for any time that matters. But basically, he has to be the Warlord so that I can have the SPEEDWAAGH. And the SPEEDWAAGh is incredible. So I call the SPEEDWAAGh in one of my command phases, and basically it works board wide. There's no range on it now. The SPEEDWAAGh just goes off and it works all over the board. And basically, when I call a SPEEDWAAGh, for the first turn I get 2 abilities, and the second turn after that I get 1 ability. Now, the 2 abilities on the turn when I call the SPEEDWAAGh is my vehicles can advance and shoot their assault weapons with no penalty, which is just insane. And I can fire an additional shot with my DACA weapons for the turn, which is, again, incredible. And the second ability that I get is all vehicles get an additional AP1 on all weapons that they fire in the shooting phase. Just an extra point of AP, which when I've got buggies that are shooting out of line of sight with -2 AP and scrap jets that have got a lot of shots at -2 AP, making all of them -3 AP just... Oh man, the efficiency of them is insanely good. And also it makes all the big shooter shots that the scrap jets have AP -1. And they just do so much more damage than you actually think that they're going to do. They did way more damage than I thought they were going to do anyway. And so you get that, and then the second turn, you lose the ability to advance and shoot and the extra shot, but you still get the AP -1 for another turn. So the SPEEDWAAGh is something you've got to take. So the Death Killer Wartrike, obviously I would take a Squig boss instead of him, you know, like a beast boss on a Squigosaur, but a beast boss on a Squigosaur cannot call the SPEEDWAAGh, and having a SPEEDWAAGh ability that affects 18 buggies in your army rather than 1 character, I think is better. And of course he's got brutal but cunning, and he's no scrub in combat. And his melter gun killed something in every game, which I thought was incredible. So he's really good. The buggies around him really good because of the SPEEDWAAGh, so why would you not take him? Then, like I said, the Commandos and the Storm Boys have pretty much already been explained. The Commandos forward deploy stop me getting Alpha struck out of reserve by drop pods. They help me play the primary mission and also the secondaries with Retrieve Octari's data. And the Storm Boys do exactly the same thing. So, you know, I've got these 3 units in my army that are helping me play the mission. And, you know, just the addition of these 3 little units at 160 points is not a very heavy price to pay to guarantee yourself 8 to 12 points on a 3rd secondary, which you would struggle otherwise doing in your army. Then we had the 3 units of 3 Megatrack scrapjets. Now, I was saying these are MVPs, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why. So first of all, they are toughness 6. They have 9 wounds a buggy. They have a 4+ armor save, a 6 up invulnerable if they're in range of the Big Mech's force field. And on top of that, I can do Cloud of Smoke from my Death Killer Wartrike, and I pretty much always did it on the Death Killer Wartrike. I spend 2 CPs, and all vehicle units, Speed Freaks vehicle units, within 6 inches of that Death Killer Wartrike become -1 to hit in your opponent's shooting phase. That's just insane. So they're -1 to hit, toughness 6, 9 wounds each, 4 up save, 6 up invulnerable in the range, and they also have the ramshackle ability, meaning they reduce all damage that they take by 1 unless the attacking model is firing with a weapon that's got strength of 8 or more. So it really helps in the current meta. All these Volkite Dreads that people are taking that are strength 6 become 1 damage against my buggies. The strength 7 weapons in the game, oh man, all of them, like the autocannons people are taking on, you know, the Cognis autocannons on their Iron Strider Ballistari, they all become 1 damage. The amount of things that you don't think about that are strength 6 or 7 that do 2 damage, even strength 5, they all go down to 1 damage. And the brilliant thing about the ramshackle ability, it doesn't only work with shooting, it works in combat too. So things like Blade Guard, Incubi, all of those kind of really solid units that are in the meta right now that are smashing people in combat, they all go down to 1 damage, which keeps your vehicles alive so much longer than your opponent thinks they're going to stay alive for. And that's exactly why all of it is blood axes, because it lets me fall back and shoot or fall back and charge again, one or the other. Falling back and shooting with this amount of shots really hurts anybody. So first of all, that's their survivability. And when you look on top of that at the damage they can do, it is incredible. So first of all, and I'm gonna tell you the stats in the SPEEDWAAGH because you get that for 2 turns in the game. And genuinely, guys, after these guys shoot for 2 turns, there is not much left in your opponent's army. So I was pretty much calling the SPEEDWAAGH. If I could shoot turn 1, which most of the time I could because my Megatracks could see 1 or 2 things and the squig buggies shoot out of line of sight, I was calling the SPEEDWAAGH either turn 1 or turn 2 in every single game. So let's go through their stats in the SPEEDWAAGH. The Megatrack Scrapjets, they get 3 D3 missile shots, a strength 8, -3, flat 3 damage. Strength 8, -3, flat 3. And each buggy is getting 3d3, not a unit. Each buggy gets 3d3. So the unit has 9 D3 shots. As strength 8, -2, flat 3 damage. Then the unit also gets another 3 shots from wing missiles, which get +1 to hit against vehicles, and of course are also strength 8, -3, 3 damage. Then they've each got 2 twin big shooters on them. So that's another 10 shots, strength 5, AP1, 1 damage hitting on 4s, and again another 10 shots of strength 5, AP1, 1 damage hitting on 5s. So that unit has got 30 shots with a big shooter that hits on 4s, 30 shots with a big shooter that hits on 5s, and then 9 D3 +3 missile shots that are strength 8, -3, flat 3 damage. And you've got 3 units of those. Oh man, it just becomes insane because you look at the one scrapjet and see that it can do a lot of damage. Then you go, it's a unit of 3, and you go, wow, the damage they can do is even better. And then you go, oh, also I've got 3 units of 3 of them in the army, and people can't deal with that many. And like I said, they were my MVP. The reason they were my MVP is a lot of people went for my Rooker Truck squig buggies, and I'll tell you why in just a second. And that meant that the Megatrack Scrapjets just run free and just butcher people in 2 turns or 3 turns, and it's just over at that point. Then the Rooker Truck squig buggies. So that's definitely something to talk about. Now, the reason why people were going for them is I mentioned, I did retrieve Octarius data as my 3rd secondary. Now, the Rooker Truck squig buggies were making sure that I was doing 2 of my secondaries. The first one was to the last. So the Megatrack Scrapjet units and the Rooker Truck squig buggy units are exactly the same points. So I can choose which ones my to the last will be. And I was making the Rooker Truck squig buggies to the last in every single game because it meant that if people wanted to deny me points, they had to shoot at the buggies I've got at the back and leave the buggies I have at the front, which are the Megatrack Scrapjets, to go and do whatever the hell they want to do. So these Rooker Truck squig buggies were getting me to the last by sitting at the back and shooting out line of sight. But also, they were getting me my 3rd secondary, which was Stranglehold in pretty much every game and every turn. Because what I was doing is I was moving on to 3 different objectives, and then I was using my Rooker Truck squig buggies to, out of line of sight, kill one of the units that my opponent was holding their 3rd objective with. Like whichever objective had the lightest things on them, I was clearing them with squig buggies, and then the rest of them could shoot whatever the hell they wanted to. So I think it's very easy for this army to hold 3 objectives and clear your opponent off one. So Stranglehold is like a must take in every game. To the last is pretty much a must take in every game, unless there is a mission specific secondary which is good for you. You just take to the last and make your 3 Rooker Truck squig buggies and force them to have to kill them. And the 3rd secondary is retrieve Octarius data. I wasn't failing to get in any game. So that's basically how this list works. I know that's a little bit shorter than how other armies work, but that's because there's essentially 2 units in the army, and that's Megatrack Scrapjets and squig buggies that do all of the heavy lifting, and the rest of it is there just to support them. And the KFF, the one thing I want to mention about that in the how it works section is I can spend 2 CPs to use the force field projector in 1 turn of the game. You can only do it in 1 turn, but you use it in your enemy's shooting phase. So you do it in the turn when it looks like they're either going to smack you really hard with shooting or smack you really hard with combat, or a bit of both. You do this and you go, right, the range is extended to 9 inches. So all units within 9 inches, and also the invulnerable bonus goes to a 5+. So every unit within 9 inches gets a 5+ invulnerable save, and it lasts until the end of the turn. So they get that 5+ invuln against shooting and against combat. Makes them insanely reliable at surviving, and then they obviously hit hard when they hit back. So that's how the list is working, guys. Let's have a look at a few ways of how we can tackle it. Right, how are we going to tackle this list? So I've seen a lot of comments already going around of people saying this is an auto-win list, nothing beats it, you just put it down on the table and the list plays itself, it's auto-win. Well, I beg to differ. I do not think that that is the case. Now, I say, I went in this weekend and I won all of my games and there were very high scores. Yes. However, there was one game against David Gaylord in round number 4. He was using Adeptus Mechanicus, and I believe that was a very, very first turn game. Whoever goes first has a massive advantage, because I think personally, if David went first in that game, he would have won the game. Like, hands down, he would have won the game. So there's one way of beating them straight away, and that is by taking a Skitari build, which is a little bit more teched against vehicles. So I would suggest, if you are a Skitari player, yeah, if you're playing AdMech, I would definitely recommend having 6 Iron Strider Ballistari. I think that is the perfect number to be able to deal with this. So you have 3 units of 2. You need it in a Mars detachment. So you have 3 units of 2 Iron Strider Ballistari with las cannons. So 2 las cannons, 2 las cannons, 2 las cannons. And that's 450 points of your army. But that isn't specifically to deal with this. I know a lot of people are taking 4, 5 Iron Strider Ballistari already, and some people are taking 6. Oof. But what I want to say there is make sure they're all in Mars to make them more efficient against things like this, help you against vehicles. And then I think you want to put 2 Stratoraptors in your army as well. So 2 Archaeopter Stratoraptors. They let you reach out and kill the things like the Commandos, because they're flyers. They let you kill the things like the Commandos and the Storm Boys as soon as they can see them. And remember, they can fly over you and land in your deployment zone and shoot and stuff like that. So they're very good as well. But what that gives you is 6 Cognis las cannons on your Iron Strider Ballistari and another 2 Cognis las cannons on your planes. So all in all, you've got 8 Cognis las cannons, and you're paying 450 points and 320 points. So actually, you're paying 770 points. So you're less than 800 points. Using 750 points essentially. That's the way to look at it. 750 points of your army, which is 3/8 of your army, to tech with anti-tank. Not specifically this, but anti-tank. There's loads of vehicles in the game now, like all these Volkite Contemptors and stuff like that, and Redemptors, Sisters Rhinos, Scorpius Disintegrators in other Skitari armies, Iron Strider Ballistari in other people's Skitari armies. Then you've got things like this. So there are a lot of vehicles in the meta right now. So, having that 750 odd points in your army there is incredible at dealing with vehicles. And that's the kind of thing that's really going to give this a run for its money. Now, you can, in most deployments, deploy at the back of the board with your las cannon Iron Strider Ballistari and your planes, and these just won't be able to shoot you turn 1, except for the Rucker Truck Squig Buggies, who've got a 36-inch range. They probably will, but they'll become 1 damage against your planes, and they'll be wounding your Iron Strider Ballistari on 5s. So, I actually think you can survive even like a first turn shot from this, and then you can shoot back. And I think on math, when all of those shoot, plus the other 1250 points of your army, you'll probably kill about 7 Rucker Truck Squig Buggies or 7 Megatrack Scrapjets in one go. And I think if you kill 6 or 7 of the Megatrack Scrapjets in your turn 1, whether you're going second or first, the Rucker Truck Squig Buggies don't quite have the punch to kill those things that are killing your buggies anymore. And if you've left me with only 2 or 3 Scrapjets, I'm definitely going to struggle to kill your anti-tank. So you'll just start wiping through them at that point. And I think you pretty much definitely win the game with that list. So that's one hard counter to this. Now, other things. The first thing I want to say is move blocking. It's absolutely huge. This army fills up your deployment zone. Have it from me, guys. I played with this for 5 games now in that tournament, and I found that I was filling my deployment zone without fail every single time. They just got such a big footprint. So, there's ruins and stuff in your deployment zone that you've got to go around. So if you've got something that forward deploys like mandrakes, or your own commandos and things like that, or Skitari, you've got infiltrators, all these kind of things. If you've got something that can deploy forward, definitely include a unit like that in your army, because if you deploy forward against this and then you get the first turn, you can move even closer or just advance and stand an inch in front of the buggies and go, right, you're basically not moving for a turn. You're locked in your own deployment zone for a whole turn. And slowing this army down for a turn or 2 can definitely be the difference between winning and losing, but definitely making this struggle to get points. Because I mentioned Stranglehold, you have to actually get out of your deployment zone and go and hold 3 objectives of Stranglehold, like with this army. Retrieving Arcteris data, that becomes harder if you're forward deploying and, you know, deep striking around the side, stopping my deep striking coming around where I want it to. So, you know, you can throw spanners in the works in that way, and instead of like going for the all-out kill, you can block them in and try and kill 2 or 3, and then next turn when they've killed you and you can't block them anymore, you kill another 2 or 3, and all of a sudden they've only got 11 buggies left or 10 buggies left, and you know they're going to struggle to wipe you out at that point, and then you just carry on playing the mission around it. So that's another way of doing it. And then the third way I thought of was loads and loads of strength 6 or strength 7 1 damage shooting, because that's where you're getting your value from. That will wound these guys on 4s or 3s, depending on if it's strength 6 or strength 7. If it's -1 or -2, it's putting these guys straight on that 6 up invulnerable or the 5 invulnerable on the force field turn. And then everyone that goes through is just plinking wounds off. And I think that's a great way of getting through them. Mortal wounds can definitely help. This army doesn't really like mortal wounds. It relies on being toughness 6, having those 9 wounds, getting the decent save from the invulnerable for 1 turn, or having the 4-up saves. And of course, they've got cover when you shoot them outside of 18 because they're blood axes. They've got 3-up saves. They don't like things that can get around their survivability. So if you've got things that pump out a decent amount of mortal wounds, like Archaeopter Fuselaves should averagely do 3 mortal wounds per plane. Like if you bomb one with 3 of them, that'll kill a whole jet, and then you've got all the stubbers off it. You can use Wrath of Mars to do mortal wounds. So, you know, you've got all of these kind of different units that you can do that with and just plink wounds off without going through the toughness of them. So those are 2 or 3 different ways that I think you could tackle this list. Let's have a look at a few modifications that we can make to make this list better. Right, guys, there is only really 2 changes that I would make to the army. First of all, I would want all of my buggies in the same detachment from now on. So you'll notice there were 3 units of scrapjets in one Outrider and 3 units of squig buggies in the other Outrider, because I've got storm boys with them as well. What I actually want to do is make the blood axes detachment, the Outrider one, have the Deathkiller Wartrike and all 6 units of 3 vehicles. So all 3 units of 3 scrapjets and all 3 units of 3 Ruckerdruck squig buggies in that one Outrider detachment there with the blood axis trait, so they can keep falling back and shooting, having cover over 18 and that kind of stuff. And then I want to move all of the infantry over into the other detachment and somehow make them Death Skulls, because then all of my infantry becomes objective secured, and that helped me play the mission and the secondaries even better than I can already play them now. So for that to be possible, what I need to do is I need to figure out what detachment that's going to be. And I think it'll be easiest to make an Outrider detachment because I've already got 2 units of 5 Storm Boys in there. Now, what I think I will be doing is dropping 1 Ruckerdruck squig buggy. Not a unit, just 1 Ruckerdruck squig buggy. So I've got 8 Ruckerdruck squig buggies and 9 Megatrack scrapjets, which is still a lot, like a hell of a lot. And then what I can do is with those points, I can add a 2nd unit of 5 commandos and a 3rd unit of 5 storm boys. So in that case, I will have a big mech with a custom force field, 3 units of 5 storm boys and 2 units of 5 commandos to play the mission for me, do primaries very well, gain the objective secured, and do secondaries even better than they already are, because I'll have 5 units doing it, not 3. So I think that's a really good change. But that is probably the only thing I would change about the list. I think other than that, it's very, very optimized. Killy, survivable, plays the missions, does everything that you wanted to do, really. So that is the end of the modifications bit, in my opinion. Like I normally say, guys, please leave in the comments below anything that you're doing when you're using your SPEEDWAAGH, anything that you're finding especially useful. Maybe there's a couple of different units you're using in your list to me. Please leave in the comments below for everybody to share and grow. And if you haven't already and you've watched this far, hit that subscribe button, notifications bell in the corner over there, so you know each time I release one of these videos. And if you want more content like this and other content like battle reports, tournament analysis, all of that kind of stuff, and you would like amazing discounts off of our store, please head over to glasshammergaming.co.uk and join the elite. Right, guys, I will be back next week with another roster review, hopefully of whichever list wins into the Hellstorm the Chainsword event this coming weekend. See you later, guys.